welcome to another episode of Sleep Paralysis News. This is the place where you can get information, advice, hear stories, share experiences related to sleep paralysis and all the other phenomena that it includes. It's a safe space. It's a place where we welcome you to come and listen in. If at some later point you'd like to share your story as well, just reach out to us and we'll try and accommodate. Without further ado, we've got a guest with us and I'm looking forward to hearing her story. So I'm going to hand straight over to you, Pinky.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having me. I'm really looking forward to talking about this very, very strange topic. So my first experience of sleep paralysis, I can call it that now, but at the time I didn't know what it was probably about 20 or just under 20 years ago. I was at university, and I used to take a lot of naps during the day. You know, when you're a student, you're going out at night or maybe even working through the night, so your schedule's all over the place. So I would often take naps in the middle of the afternoon. And I've never really been a very good napper. You know how people say, oh, have like a 20-minute nap and then they're up. And if I'm going to have a nap, I fall asleep like for 4 hours. So that's what used to happen. And then I remember, I don't think this was exactly the very first experience, but it was definitely one of the first ones I had. Where I'd gone for one of these naps. I had my music playing in my room and it was in the middle of the day. It was daylight, the curtains were open and I was sleeping. And then I was waking up, or I thought I was waking up. And I was trying to wake up and I just remember it was almost as if I was trying to open my eyes and I could sort of see the room around me. I could sort of hear the music in my room, but I could not wake up. I couldn't open my eyes and wake up in the way that you do when you get out of bed in the morning. You're like, right, I'm here, I'm up. And I just remember being terrified. I was like, why can't I wake up? And I felt like I could see everything, my duvet and everything. And then I started having this experience. I was like, I'm getting up. Like I've lifted the duvet. I've got out of bed. I'm sitting up in my bed. I'm 1,000,000% sure that I've just done that. As real as this conversation is right now, that's how real it felt to me. I've just got up. And then suddenly I realized I haven't moved. My body is just laying flat in that bed. I haven't moved an inch. But I was so sure that I'd got up and I got out of bed and I was like, oh my God. I assume we're not allowed to swear, so I'm not going to swear, but I was like, oh my goodness, what on earth is going on? And to be honest, it was terrifying. I was absolutely terrified. I was like, what is going on? I was thinking this is how I die, that I'm just never going to wake up again. And no one's going to know. And and it was like this endless loop of trying to wake up, but not being able to wake up, trying to wake up, but not being able to wake up. And it was really, really terrifying. And it went on for what felt like forever, but I don't actually know how long it went on for. And then at some point, somehow, miraculously, I suddenly woke up and I was like, oh, I'm here. I'm fully awake and I'm back in the room. And then I'm like, thank God for that. And so it was weird. Like I'd never spoken to anyone about this sort of thing. I'd never heard anyone talk about this sort of thing. And I was like, God, is that just some weird thing I've just had? And then it did happen a few more times. And it's always when I nap. I never get it in the morning when I'm waking up from my night's sleep. It's always when I'm napping in the day. Actually happened a few days ago. I took a nap. So I was traveling actually to the States last week. I was in North Carolina for a very hectic week of wedding celebrations. I was exhausted when I came back, really busy at work. So in the middle of the day, I was like, okay, I need to take a nap. And it went into one of those deep sleeps. And the same thing happened. I was like, right, you got to get up. There's a part of me that's like, you shouldn't be napping during the day. Wake up, get on with your life. And then there's a part of me that's so stuck in the deep sleep that won't come out of it. And it's like those two parts of me just fight in what feels like an endless loop of terror. And that has happened multiple times. It's not like every week or every day because I don't nap often, and it doesn't happen every time I nap, but it does happen. And it's been going on for about 20 years. The only things that have slightly changed with it is on occasion, after it had happened multiple times over a few years, And later on in my life, actually, I did speak to some friends about it, and they're like, oh my God, I get that too. I was like, really? I thought it was just me having some really weird experience. And then, no, actually, other people are having this, and probably no one talks about it because it makes you think something's wrong with you, right? It's not a common conversation, I think.
So,
But one thing I did realize is that I, at sometimes when I went into it, and it's always terrifying for me. It was never a happy thing. It was never a nice thing. I was always, because the images of my dream state, if you like, that I would get would always be really harrowing as well, of me struggling to get up or do something. I don't know. It was always just, but then sometimes I'd realize, oh, I'm having that thing, even though I'm still asleep. I could sort of be aware of it. And then I'd tell myself, don't fight it. Just go back to sleep and you'll wake up when you're ready. So on occasion I can do that, and that stops it being such a painful process. But on many other occasions, I don't have that awareness, and so I just fight it for what seems like hours. I don't know. Maybe it's like 20 seconds. Maybe you guys will know better than me. How long does it actually go on for in the world? But for me, it feels like forever. But the other interesting aspect of it, that I'm always keen to explore as well, which I may do more in my life, is the consciousness aspect. Because what it really showed me is that my experience of life is in my spirit, my soul, my consciousness, my mind. It's not in my physical. It's like that is coming into my physical body, because I'm having that experience where I've just got out of bed. I felt myself lift the duvet. I felt myself sit up. And all of that happened in my mind, but it felt very real to me. But my body didn't move. So there's a real fascination for me around it. Kind of shows me, it allowed me to experience what I believe to be true anyway. I will never know for sure, but I do believe we are human, spiritual beings having human experiences, and that we have a spirit, soul, essence, consciousness that comes into this body that's our vehicle. And when
correct.
we sleep, it kind of moves out and does whatever it does and then comes back in when we wake up. And I was having that battle of like, my consciousness has come out, but it's going, but I felt the separation between
Yep.
what I'm experiencing and my body. And that for me was like, once you've had that, it's like, oh, wow. You can't really go back from that. You start to realize this whole experience is crazy. So yeah, that
Yeah.
was a very, very long answer to your question. I think that's probably everything, but yes, I'm happy
Yeah.
to
So it's
take your thoughts.
terrifying, but out of all the terror, such as myself as well, you get that validation that we, like you said, are spiritual beings. And so
Mm,
you, like you said, you can't go back from that. You cannot convince me otherwise. After I experienced that and felt the
yes,
detachment and,
yes,
the other word I like to use, like the disconnect from, you're
yes,
not back to getting, back to your pineal gland. I believe it was
yes.
Socrates said the pineal gland was the seat of the soul. So in our
Mm,
minds, there's a pineal gland that's kind
yeah.
of like the spirit molecule. I like to call it too.
Mm,
There's a book on it. And so we are a thought. We are a thought that just can float. And so this is our temple. And then
yes.
I think, therefore I am, right? So you can be
Mm,
asleep or you can not be alive anymore, but your
yes,
thought will still exist. It's
yes,
crazy. This stuff is crazy. I
yes.
love it though. It's extremely fascinating.
It
I
is. It is. And oh, sorry. Go for it,
No,
Sheila.
go
I
on,
can't
go
see
on.
you,
You
but
carry on.
I was just going to say that it kind of is. I haven't gone down this avenue. I do a lot of work in terms of consciousness whilst I'm awake, but I'm starting to delve more into consciousness and spiritual development in the sleep world. I know people who do a lot more on that, and I'm starting to look more into it. But people talk about like lucid dreaming and things. I've never done that, but some people have said to me, because they've read books on sleep, and they said if you're having this kind of experience, you probably also have the ability to lucid dream and direct your own dreams. Um, but I've never managed that because I'm too busy being scared that I'm never going to wake up again. So I've never
I,
managed to
I,
take it any further.
I would perhaps argue that you are lucid dreaming if you are you said that you are aware sometimes that you're having that experience again. So that tells me that
Yes, it
that's
has happened a few times.
yeah, that's a level of lucidity, because you're aware that you're dreaming in the dream state, and you're able then to manage that
Yeah,
part of the experience. So that's an example of you lucid dreaming right there. So you are lucid
I
dreaming.
love.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
And
you, Sheila.
yeah,
That's really awesome to hear. I'd never thought
yeah,
of that, but that is exactly it. That is
yeah,
exactly it. Oh, that's so
yeah.
cool.
But
I
and
love it.
the
Yeah.
experiences that you're talking about are very, very common. I know I call them dream loops, and I've heard them called
Okay.
other things as well. And it's where you're on this endless cycle. Sometimes you actually think you're living a day, and then you realize that you're still sleeping, and then you try and wake up only to find that you haven't woken up, but you're still sleeping, and you're then on this kind of crazy loop, you know and I know
Yes.
for me, I can live whole days. I'll go shopping, I'll see friends and family.
Mm.
It's really crazy, you know. And then I'll
Oh,
realize I'm
wow.
still sleeping, and I try and wake up, and then it starts again, you know. So
That's
yeah,
so fascinating.
it is,
Yeah,
and
like I get that.
yeah.
I really,
Sorry,
as
go
I say, I
on.
really like what you're calling it. It's that dream loop because, like, you think you've woken up, but you're still. It's like Inception. You've seen the movie Inception, where
You
they're
know,
in like there's many
he said
different
I
layers
should
of
watch
dream.
that. I've not watched
Yeah.
it.
It's
Everyone says
that,
I
right?
should watch.
You gotta watch it, Sheila. You gotta
Oh yeah,
watch
that
it.
movie will lose the general population. We're probably lost after the first 30 minutes because I was
Yeah.
like, what is going on? I consider myself a
Yes.
smart person, but you got to watch that movie 2 or 3 times. But yeah, that
Absolutely.
is the high concept of where movies are going now. And that's why I'm writing, my screenplay and my script is on sleep process, because I think the world is ready to receive this information that we're not teaching in schools, and you have to go deep in college to learn
Yeah.
this stuff. But sleep is happening to the general population every day. We all sleep, so we all are
Yes.
going through some type of sleep disorder for the most part. Most of us are, whether it's insomnia or sleep apnea, sleep
Yes.
paralysis. The list is long. So I think we are
Yes.
ready as a population to tackle these tough questions that if they talked about this 500 years ago, like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? So
Yeah.
we're getting smarter and smarter at trying to understand ourselves as human beings.
Yeah.
And so Inception was what they call a high concept movie that kind of pushes the conscious level of humanity to like think a little bit deeper than we used to 20 years ago. So
Yeah.
hopefully sleep
Love it.
paralysis my sleep paralysis film can do the same thing and generate those
Ooh.
questions, which is like, hey, the question that I want to tackle is, we might not all have the same religion here in this world, but I think we all can agree that there is a spiritual side to life. And that's really what I want us to come together as humanity to acknowledge. No, I'm
Mm.
not saying you have to choose this religion or not, but we can prove with our experiences coming together that there is a spiritual side to life, and there's more that
Yeah.
meets the eye. Let's talk about it if you guys are ready.
Oh, I love that. When's it coming out? When can I watch your movie?
We are in the fundraising stage. Hopefully, we start filming early next year. So we are still
Nice. Oh,
fundraising, but
that's
things are coming
awesome.
together.
Yeah, that's great. And I think you're right. It's a topic that very few people talk about. So I do resilience and well-being talks and trainings for organizations. And one of the things I'll cover is obviously understanding the impact of your body on your own mental health, and your own emotional state. And one of the things, I'm not a sleep expert, but I touch on, the way I do it is more, I touch on the multi-dimensional things that have helped me in my life as well. And sleep is one of them, because I remember for a while I was getting really bad sleep. You go to sleep while you're looking at your phone in the dark, which is really bad for you, and just pummeling your mind with all this noise. And then I wouldn't get a good sleep, and it was happening over and over again. And then I felt horrible. I was literally, I wouldn't say depressed, but I was feeling really low. And I was thinking there were all these problems that I must have to fix in my life that would make me feel better. And then one day I just got a really good sleep, a really good, long, deep, healthy sleep. And I woke up feeling so good the next day. And that's all it was. Sleep is so basic. But we, especially in the Western world, it's almost like, I come from my past experience in work is in management consulting, very, very fast paced, stress inducing industry. And it's almost like lack of sleep is a trophy. Oh yeah, I only slept 1 hour last night because I was busy creating a presentation for a client. I didn't sleep for a week because I was busy going out with clients. And I'm like, this is not something to be joyful about. It's actually really bad for us. So there's definitely that health side of it. Like you say, maybe a lot of people are suffering from sleep related issues that we don't talk about very often, like you say, and that can have such a big impact on our mental, physical health, and our daily, what's the word, our effectiveness, in our daily lives. But yeah, definitely I love the spiritual angle on it, because that's a whole nother realm of consciousness a lot of the work I do is in creative development, which is basically learning, or not even learning, but practicing how to consciously create your own reality. By mastering the different levels. It's a process of alchemy. So where you look at your egoic structures, your belief systems, you use certain tools to degrade that. Then you go into your intuition, you use your third eye, you use your imagination to get truth, love, wisdom. And from there, you take your guidance for your life, the actions you want to take, the visions you have for your life, what you want to do. And it's that process of creative development that I use to live my life. And someone I know, who I just came across, she's now looking at how to use your dreams to create. So that's something that I've literally just joined her Facebook group. I haven't had a chance to watch any of her videos yet at the moment. But that's what she's doing. And it's interesting that all of this is coming up right now for me, because over the last few months in particular, my dreams have also been very prophetic, very symbolic. Things that happen in my dream, the next day or two, something will happen in my reality that just reflects that, mirrors it, completes it, or something. And it's happened a lot recently. So I'm starting to pay a lot more attention to my dreams, because I never used to see such a strong correlation between what I dream of and then what happens in my life. I was going to tell you a really embarrassing one, but I might as well just tell you it anyway. It's quite helpful. It's really horrible, but it's helpful. I'm just going to call it a toilet dream. But I have a toilet dream. And every time I get a toilet dream, 2 days later, something hits the fan in my life. Like there's always an emotional, an argument, a conflict, something, a level for me to transmute in myself. And it keeps happening. Whenever I get that kind of dream, I know in 1 or 2 days something's coming up, and it always does. So I'm only just really starting to look at this in more detail, because I've started to realize that this is what's happening. I'm like, wow, there's so much power in that state of consciousness. There's so much there that we don't know, that we could explore and learn about. And like you're saying, Cyrus, it's the truth. There's more truth there of who we truly are, what we're truly capable of, when we realize it is just thought. Everything is thought, everything is mind, everything is energy, everything is consciousness. And sleep is a great way to explore that. But yeah, I'm still only just starting to look at it, to be honest. So yeah.
So are you
Yeah, I think
seeing
that
you seeing a direct
uh,
link there between your sleep paralysis and the prophetic dreams that you're having, in terms of some kind of psychic impression or some psychic stuff that's going on around you? Do you think that there is a link between those?
I haven't had it with the sleep paralysis and the psychic prophetic side of things. I just get the prophetic side on my normal night's sleep. The sleep paralysis happens as a quite distinct, separate experience for me. There's never been anything in there that's given me insights into my life. It's just been that horrible experience of like, oh my God, I'm never going to wake up. But no, so I haven't seen that. I mean, maybe people do, I don't know, but for me, no, those two things haven't been linked at the moment.
Although I will say
Yeah.
that through my research, I'm seeing a link between people who have sleep paralysis and people who have some kind of psychic ability. That's the only way I can term it, in their wake state.
Yep.
You know, so it's almost as though that either there is something quite unique about the individual where they have this kind of psychic ability, which perhaps lay dormant for a long time, you know,
Yeah.
or by engaging in that higher level of consciousness through the sleep paralysis, they kind of come back into this realm with that psychic ability. You know, I'm finding that more and
Yeah.
more that there is this link and the abilities are very subtle, you know, and the awareness of them are very subtle. Here and there they show themselves, you know, and you know that
Yeah.
this is something kind of paranormal going on here, something, you know, spiritual perhaps is going on here. You can't quite pin it down, you can't control it, you can't call on it when you want it, but you know that something is a bit not in line with the rest of society here, and you kind of know
Yes.
that during your wake state, you know. But it does seem like
Yes.
you're on a
And
journey,
it's
you're exploring this.
absolutely. I was just going to say there, you know, all of that as well is really a gift, I think. So a lot of the work I do in creative development, we do use a lot of intuitive readings, and so where we do more conscious accessing of what if we want to call it psychic. I know some people can find that word a bit, you know, but it is your ability, because we are all connected through time and space, where there is no boundary. Everything that exists, it's all there. We can tune into it. If you listen to you know, Nikola Tesla, Einstein, they would always speak about the intuitive mind. There were quite a few people that we call geniuses. I can't remember their names now. I want to say Nostradamus, but I'm not sure if that's right. But they all used to receive a lot of genius, creativity, wisdom, insight, knowledge before their time through what I would call a psychic ability or a visualization or a, you know, accessing a higher level of consciousness, but doing it in their waking state and receiving. Whether they were doing it consciously and could control it, I don't know. But a lot of them reference that state of consciousness. That's our highest state, I believe, when we're in this body. So I do a lot of work on accessing it more consciously, by doing visualizations and going into what we call a state of innocence, where you know, really detach yourself a bit consciously. And so, yeah, but definitely, like you're saying, Sheila, I feel like the journey of that is really, I don't think I realize how much of it I might have, because I'm only now starting to see it in the dream state. And like you're saying, it's quite subtle. I've always been quite sensitive. I think that's what it is as well. Some of us are just very sensitive to energy, to, you know, you walk through the world, you feel things, you sense things, you know things, you just, you know, that sensitivity of guidance of your own spirit guiding you through life. I've always had that, but then the world out there dampens it down, right? It says, no, just think logically, just do whatever else is doing, just, you know, be hard and tough or whatever. And so we lose connection to the sensitivity, but the sensitivity is our gift. The sensitivity is your spirit. And so I think maybe, like you're saying, Sheila, I love that you're saying that you're seeing a link between people who have these sleep experiences and have psychic abilities, because it's clearly, I think, there's something about the sensitivity and the power of your own soul and consciousness that is wanting to go to the next level here, you know, and not just be a little blob of flesh.
I agree. And I think our society hinders our spiritual growth, especially in kids and children. I think imagination is another good example. We are extremely imaginative kids. We say things, do things, and then adults come and give them that reality check. No, you can't think like that, or draw inside the lines, or this isn't reality. What's your real goal in life? You know? And same with our spirituality. Kids can sense, like animals, they can sense evil And a dog might bark at a
Mm.
stranger, but never barks at anyone else. A kid might cry when you pick him up. Like, how come you never cry with no one else and just him? There's a spiritual sensitivity that we have that as we get older, we lose it. We lose our imagination. We lose our level of creativity. We lose these innate spiritual things that our school isn't teaching us that we have. But you have to like go to church, or your parents have to tell you, you know, you have to have the right environment for you to really tap into your potential as a human being. So I agree that the older we get, and if people can get it right at a young age, we can make it the older you get, the more creative you become. The older you get, the more spiritual you become. But if we have a culture that does not, you know, influence that or encourage it, then we are becoming what I feel, let's say, the man wants us to be, which is godless. He wants us to be godless. And so if this is why this conversation isn't where where it should be after thousands of years of going through sleep paralysis, how come this conversation isn't happening? Because if we have this conversation, then we would have to acknowledge that there is a creator or a God. And if you remove the spirit from man and we're just objective robots with no beginning, no end, no pre-existence, no afterlife, then there is no right and wrong. There is no reason to explore a God. There is no reason to explore spirituality. So I feel like that is what the man wants us to be: spiritless, godless, and just be consumers in this world and then die. And then keep repeating that. So there is no human growth of acknowledgement of saying we are spiritual beings. And that is actually one of my quotes on my Facebook. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. I got that on there. You already said it. So, and that's true. But they don't want us to know that, like I said, because then we would have to acknowledge that there is a creator then, that there is a heaven and hell. There is a right and wrong. There is an answer to consequences. And that only really comes if we acknowledge that we have spirits. And if we acknowledge that we don't have spirits, then nothing matters. And everything goes back to black, cut to black after we die, just like the beginning. So
yeah, I love that. And I've often said as well that we are becoming more and more godless. And I think that is causing so many of the problems. Like, again, I work in resilience and wellbeing for companies, and I'm always seeing the stats about how, you know, chronic stress is getting worse and worse. People are leaving jobs because of more and more stress and depression and ill health and anxiety. And generally the Western population as a whole, in particular, I can't speak for these, but it tends to be in the West.
Yes.
More depression, more suicide, more struggle, more anxiety, more addiction, all of these things. And I think it's because we become godless, because we are not meant to be godless, but we are living godless. And so we're not going to function healthily when we are not living in line with our true nature. And so I think that's and that's why everyone's getting sick mentally. And then when you get mentally sick, it also affects your physical health, and then you don't sleep well, and, you know, and all these things. It's just a vicious cycle of what I think is just pure self-destruction.
Oh, for sure.
And that seems to be where it's going. But again, you know, like you were saying, even more reason to have the conversations that open a door for people to explore their own spirit. And I think that, you know, the majority of people are probably not having these conversations. I have these conversations a lot because I live, work, breathe this. But I think there's a lot of people out there who don't. But they're very important. Yeah.
I think I would just like to qualify, because when you say godless, could we refer to it as not accepting that we are more than just this physical being? You know, there are those that don't see that side to humanity, you know, but perhaps the terminology of godless kind of frames it in terms of the man in the cloud somewhere looking down at us, whereas it should be that we are energetic beings. We are more than what can be seen and felt and touched. We have this energy which is eternal. You can't, we know that metaphysically you can't destroy energy. energy is eternal. It can change form, but it cannot just be extinguished just like that, you know? So perhaps it's about an awareness of humanity, that we are more, that there is more than just this physical. And some people define that as spirit. Some people define that as having a soul. Some people define that as having consciousness. It's defined in many, many ways that I think that we're all open to, you know? I think I just wanted
I definitely agree. Yeah.
just get that in so that persons don't feel, oh, if they're talking about this soul stuff, I'm not into it. But we're not just talking about having a soul or spirits or ghosts. We're talking about the human being made up of matter and energy. That's the conversation that we're having, and that the energy can be separated from the physical matter. And that's what can happen during sleep paralysis, you know? Yeah, great.
It's crazy.
And these are interesting times because we are having these conversations, and there was a historic political drive to disempower us, to make us think that we don't have spirits. They took the spirit away, and if you talked about spirits and stuff, you were perhaps burnt at the stake, you know, and an outcast. That's where we're coming from, you know. So we're trying to kind of move forward and change the narrative. We have a big task ahead of us, but I think that each one of us, step by step, we're kind of opening the doors, you know.
Absolutely. What a great
I
conversation.
don't know if there's anything else that you'd like to add in. I just went off there on a bit of a tangent, I feel, you know.
No, it's good.
So I don't know if
I
there's
think it's
anything else you'd like to say, Pinky or Cyrus.
No, I've learned a lot from Pinky today with what she expressed, and thank you for having so much depth of understanding to explain to us all. So yes, I'm walking away with a deeper understanding of things. Thanks to you sharing your story.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cyrus. Thank you both for having me.
I'd like to say keep on with the
Yes, that's and thank you so much for pointing out the fact that I've actually done it, because I really thought, oh no, I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. I don't do it. But no, I've actually already done it. So that was very cool. But no, just thank you for having such an expansive and soul opening conversation, because I live for these conversations. And so it's been an absolute joy for me. Cyrus, I can't wait to see what you're creating. You must connect with me if you want to on Facebook and so on, or wherever it is. I would love to see what you create. That sounds awesome. And yeah, you know, Sheila, thank you so much for bringing this awareness and giving me the space to share my story, because I don't talk about it to many people. And now I'm talking to everybody on the internet. So it's all good. So it's an absolute joy. Thank you so much.
All right then, Pinky. Great. Thank you. Great. Bye.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.